Hello and welcome to From the Fringe. I'm back. It's good to be back. It's been a bit of a... last year was such a slow year for this channel. I think I did a total of 5 videos or something like that. I plan to get a little bit more productive this year. Off to a slow start, but you know, I've got the ball rolling now. And yeah, let's just get straight into it. Check it out. Today, we are looking at time slips. The reason why is because earlier in the week, I came across this interview on Grant Cameron's White House UFO YouTube channel, and it was very interesting. There was a section in it where these fellas, Rob Freeman and Mark McNabb, were talking about this time slip incident that they experienced. And what's so interesting about it is there's actually physical evidence of this. So, just to give you a brief rundown, Rob and Mark and their friend Liz went to Australia for a few weeks. This is back in February, March of 2017. And while they were there, Liz had to pay her rent, and so she had organised for her ex-husband to come to the home, to the apartment, and pick up a cheque which she had written out and left in her checkbook, and he did this. So while she was away, he came to the apartment, found the checkbook in the dresser, tore out the cheque, took it to the landlord, who wrote on the cheque the apartment number 203. And then the landlord obviously went to the bank and cashed it or deposited it. And there's actual physical evidence in the form of a facsimile where this check has been copied, and it's proof. Look, I'll show you these photos. So this is the check, right, as it was written out back in 1st of March. And here's a photo of the check and the photocopies. So I'll get Photoshop out later and I'll do an overlay, and we can see how exactly identical this check and this check is. It's the same check. Okay, I don't know how well this is going to work, but let's have a go. No, this is not going to work, is it? I do not have the skills. There, perfect match. See? I told you.
Yes, the space people refer to me as mental channel number 1.
So you can't see in that image there, but trust me, the two checks, the photocopy and the original, are identical. And these two researchers actually got a colleague of theirs who has a background in forensics to have a look at these two checks, like the copy and the original, and he said they are identical. They're exactly the same, and he's dumbfounded. And you can see here on the back, it's been stamped by a wet stamp. You can see on here it says 203, which is the apartment number. And on the, well, I forgot to mention the punchline here. When Liz got back home, after it had been confirmed that the ex had, the landlord had received the check, the bank had cashed in the check, she had all of that information because she was following the transaction on a banking app. So she knew it was all done and dusted. But when she got back home, she had to write a check, and lo and behold, in the checkbook is that same check that she wrote out, that same check that had been processed by the bank, sitting there untouched in her checkbook. So somehow, after this check had been torn out of the book and processed, somehow it had time slipped backwards, back to somewhere between 1st of March and 10th of March when it was cashed in, 10th of March, you can see there. So somewhere in that time period, this checkbook has slipped back in time. Or should I say, this is very confusing. No, it's it slipped from that period forward into time, untouched. And you can see here, when the landlord received the check, you can see 203, which is the apartment number. And this is a photo of the check today, still in the checkbook. This is a photo of it, how it is right now. And it's exactly the same check, guaranteed. Well, I can't guarantee that. But as far as I can tell, it's exactly the same check. And down here is, there's no 203. So, how do you explain that? It's some sort of... Could it be an apport where the old checkbook was replaced by the new... This is so confusing. This is so confusing. All I can tell you is that it's paranormal. And I like it. And it got me thinking. It got me interested in time slips again. And so I did a little bit of searching. And I came across a pretty cool story, which is similar in that there's kind of physical evidence that that something had occurred. It was like a physical time slip, not just, you know how sometimes you see, like in Liverpool, someone will be walking down the street and they might see a monk from the 1500s or something walking down the street. It's more like an apparition. It's not like that. This is like the person has physically, or the object has physically moved from one time period into this time period. And so check out this story. This is a time slip that happened on a highway in New York in 1986. This is how it reads. This happened in 1986 in New York, as I just said, on the road between White Plains and the Throgs Neck Bridge. I was travelling the road one afternoon on my way home from White Plains to Bayside in Queens. The journey required me to travel the Hutchinson River Parkway, pay a 25-cent toll, 25 cents, and cross the Throgs Neck Bridge. The road before the entrance to the Hutchinson River Parkway was confusing. It was easy to miss the exit. I remember nervously looking at the 25 cents on the tray of my Volvo, wishing that the toll would come sooner than it did, so I could be on my way. That is when I missed the exit. I travelled about half a mile beyond it, and then in a panic, I decided to back up on the highway and see if I could get the exit after all. So I backed up with oncoming traffic behind me, swerving the car to the shoulder to make the exit amid beeping and skidding. But I attained the exit, and with no damage. Just as I reached the Hutchinson River Parkway and got on it, I heard the siren. It was a highway patrol car coming after me. I figured he'd witnessed my crazy driving move. As I pulled over, I looked into the rear view mirror. The policeman that was getting out of the patrol car was the scariest one I had ever seen. Never mind the boots and the hat and the sunglasses. He just looked completely mean. I looked down at my lap and said out loud, "Dear God, I would rather be anywhere but here." I went into my pocketbook to get my license, and when I looked up, my car and I were sitting on the side entrance to Throgs Neck Bridge, well beyond the Hutchinson River Parkway, which I hadn't driven yet. The 25-cent toll was still on the tray in my car. I had this funny feeling that I was frozen, and I did feel stiff, so I flexed my wrists, rubbed my eyes, and looked again. I was still on the entrance to the bridge, a good 20 miles beyond the Hutchinson River Parkway. In order for this to happen, my car and I would have had to have been lifted in the air and placed back down 20 miles up the road. Right, so there's a few things that I just want to check here, because I'm not sure if I'm following it correctly. Yeah, Throgs Neck. What a weird name, Throgs. Throgs Neck Bridge. I'm going to type in as a Throg something. It is, because it's got a neck. What is a Throg? Throg, now extinct, is one of the earliest birds to inhabit the cliffs on the northeast coast of Manhattan. There you go. Throg. Throg bird. Is that a throg? Well, it can't be, because throgs are extinct. So, anyway, back to the story. Okay, so she's going from White Plains to Bayside. Okay, so she's on here. Yep, righto. She is. She's on here. And she missed one of the exits in that mess, which I can totally understand. Okay, so that's where we are. We're here. She's backing up. She's backing up somewhere in here. Okay, so the cop pulls her over. Okay, and then the slip happens. So she's gone from this point to somewhere around here. Here, we'll say. In an instant. So I was wrong there. I thought there was I thought the 25 cents was going to be physical evidence of a time slip. For some reason when I first read it, because I read it ages ago, and when I sort of found it again, I had it mixed up in my brain that she had paid the toll and then the time slip happened and the money was back in the car. But no. I do have another one. I've got another story here, which is a short one. Yeah, let's just quickly go through it. When I was around 8 years old, I had a really bad dose of flu. I was in bed and I felt someone sit on my bed. I thought it was my mum. I looked, and it was a man wearing a hood, looking into his hands. He then turned and reached toward me. I jumped out of bed and found my parents, who checked the house and found no one. The strange thing was that I knew the man was me, but older. Years later, I got ill at uni and went home for a few days. I went to my bedroom, sat on the end of my bed, read a text message on my phone, and reached towards my bedside cabinet for a pen. That's when I realized this was the same moment I saw as a kid. I was wearing a black hooded tracksuit. Not long after that, I was in my local pub, and I saw a man who looked exactly like me at the end of the bar. He looked a few years older and had a full sleeve tattoo, which was unusual at the time. So a couple of years go by. I'm on a double date with my friend and two girls. I was stood at the end of the bar waiting to be served, and I realized that this again was the same moment I saw years before. I had just had my sleeve tattoo finished that week. But this one's a bit weird because it's kind of like a cross between the apparition type time slip that I was talking about earlier and a little bit of physicality, because he actually felt the apparition of himself sit on the end of the bed.
257.
Hey, it's just me, Chris. I'm beaming in from the Fringe. I just wanted to add something to this. I noticed that whenever this guy had one of his experiences of his future self, he and the future self were in the same state of mind. So during the initial contact, the first one, when he was a kid, he had a flu, and then the older version of him also had a flu. And again at the pub later in life, both of them were at the pub, drinking, I presume, and so in a similar state of mind. So I wonder if this has something to do with the time slip phenomenon. Overdub Chris, signing off. And that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. It's all time slips. It's all very confusing. It's all very fun. It's all very, that's all I got. See you next time.